Hello again, everyone. Welcome to Washington Gun Law TV. I am Washington Gun Law President William Kirk. Thanks for joining us. Well, we're going to do it. We're going to take the plunge. Yes, we are. We're going to start talking about abolishing the ATF. Why? Well, because all of you are talking about it as well. But in traditional Washington gun law fashion, we're not necessarily going to advocate for a particular position. I think you all know here, I'm not a big fan of the ATF, but is abolition of the ATF even possible? And if it was possible, does it create more problems than it solves? I think it's something that we all need to think about. So we're going to try to keep it right down the middle today. We're going to try to keep you guys informed so that you can use this in deciding what is the best thing to do with this runaway government agency. So today, let's spend a few minutes and let's talk about, is abolishing the ATF really a good idea? What do you got there, man?
TacPack.
Oh, sweet. A TacPack? Nice.
Oh, what's a TacPack?
That's the new sponsor of the channel.
So what's in a TacPack?
Oh, what's in a TacPack? Well, here's the best thing. It is a monthly subscription of all sorts of tactical gear. And I mean, they got a lot of really cool stuff. The best part about it is that they actually have two separate subscription models. So they got their TacPack Standard, which ships at $59.95 a month. Best thing about that is it really has a value of about somewhere between $90 and $120. And then they got the TacPack Plus. Now that ships at $139.95 a month, but, oh, check this out. They actually have a value of somewhere between $240 and $300.
Wow, that's pretty cool.
Yeah, it's super cool, and here's the coolest part yet, because if you sign up right now for the TacPack Plus and you use the promo code GUNLAWYT, you're going to get an extra $60 everyday carry kit, which means that your initial investment for less than $140, you're going to be ended up getting over $300 worth of tactical gear. Listen, look at some of the cool things you're going to get if you subscribe to TacPack today. So get down there, check out the link below, make sure you use the promo code GUNLAWYT. Check out TacPack. Okay, America, yep, we're going to talk about it. We're going to talk about abolishing the ATF. Now, I know a lot of you out there have been clamoring for a new ATF director, this guy right here, but you're also the same ones that are clamoring to abolish the agency altogether. So do you want us to appoint this person to become the ATF director to immediately shut the ATF down? I want to see you reconcile that. But what we're going to talk today about is a really good article I found on The Reload. And if you're not checking out what's going on over at The Reload, you should. It's this article right here. It's by an author, Robert Leiter. And Mr. Leiter has done an excellent job of going through and really thinking through what would happen if we just poof, abolish the ATF. And he has pointed out, I think these are some very good talking points that we need to have a discussion about, is that that doesn't really solve any of our problems. And so one of the suggestions that he makes is that rather than trying to abolish the ATF, maybe a much better plan, and in many ways a much more feasible plan, would be to, yes, appoint a really, really good ATF director, and then for Congress to work very closely with the ATF to put them back in the garage where they belong. And certainly ATF would have the authority to reverse some of its previous decisions and rulemaking orders, and that alone may be about as good as it's going to get for us. You see, one of the reasons this might not be as big of a benefit as you think it may be is that even if you absolutely abolish the ATF today, guess what? Yeah, the National Firearms Act of 1934, it still remains on the books. The Gun Control Act of 1968, it still remains on the book. And so does every other major piece of federal firearms legislation. So abolishing the ATF doesn't get rid of any of those laws. In order to get rid of those laws, you would need to actually have another act of Congress, which would require at least 60 votes out of the United States Senate. Now, let us remember that it is the Attorney General who is tasked with enforcing federal firearms law, and then it is the Attorney General who authorizes ATF to take certain actions on behalf of the Department of Justice. Do away with the ATF, you haven't done away with the Attorney General, and that just means that the Attorney General could actually choose another agency to go out and do enforcement, such as, God forbid, the FBI. Oh, but there are certain functions that the Attorney General has no involvement in whatsoever, and almost exclusively ATF functions, one of which is actually approving all the FFLs nationwide, including all their renewals. Oh yeah, there's about 1 million NFA applications either coming in on a Form 1 or a Form 4 annually. Yeah, the ATF is tasked with approving or denying each and every one of those. Do away with the ATF and all of the restrictions that come with the National Firearms Act. Yeah, they're still in place, including the restriction of you transporting an NFA item across state lines without prior what? ATF approval on a Form 5320.20. Ban the ATF, and you still have federal law, though, that prohibits the transportation of those items across state lines. What's going to solve the problem then? If you remove the ATF, you also remove an ATF director, which, when the political winds are blowing in the correct direction, can actually be one of the most effective people in government to advance Second Amendment rights. And remember, when we're trying to appoint and confirm an ATF director, their stance on firearms is exclusively what we're going to discuss, and that's the criteria by which we'll judge the acceptability of that candidate. But when you back it up to the Attorney General, their position on firearms is one of 1,000 different data points that people are going to analyze in deciding whether or not to confirm that Attorney General candidate. Perhaps the best way to bring relief to the American gun owner, who I recognize has spent the last 4 years completely under siege from the current presidential administration, is to appoint the proper ATF director who understands the proper role of the ATF to make sure that you have a good Attorney General sitting over the top and put the ATF back into the garage where they belong. The truth of the matter is, America, with the numbers that you currently have in the House and Senate, you have a far better chance of passing effective gun legislation, which advances the Second Amendment rights of Americans nationwide, than you have any chance of flat out abolishing the ATF. And there are some things that the presidential administration and the new ATF director can do immediately. They could recall every single one of the ATF rulemaking orders made during the Biden administration. That would include the pistol brace rule, the rule on frames and receivers, the force reset trigger, and what it means to be engaged in the business of being an FFL. These are all steps that the president and the ATF director could take within days of being inaugurated. So the bottom line, America, is abolishing the ATF sounds like a really good idea. And I'm not saying it's a bad idea. But what I am saying is for all of you who are beating on that drum right now, we might want to do a little bit more thinking this thing through. We might want to ask ourselves, does this create more problems than it solves? And is there a better way? Is there potentially a better way for us Americans to advance our otherwise inalienable rights? Okay, listen, we're going to go ahead and link up the article from Mr. Leiter down below on thereload.com so you can geek out on it for yourself. But more importantly, we'd like to hear from you. What do you think we ought to do? Should we just abolish the ATF altogether, or is there a more systemic plan that we could put in place to really just kind of corral the ATF and perhaps use them to our advantage? If you got any other questions about this or anything else related to what's left of our Second Amendment rights, you guys should know how to get a hold of Washington gun law by now. But if you don't, that's okay. That information, it's down there in the description box. If you got an idea for a video we should be doing around here, cool. Tell us all about it. Click on that link right there and let us know. If all you want to do is subscribe to our monthly newsletter, the ability to do all of that is down there in the description box. And then finally, and most importantly, America, let's remember that part of being the lawful and responsible gun owner, like we talk about all the time here, is to know what the law is in every situation, how it applies to you in any instance that you may find yourself. Until next time, thanks for watching and stay safe.